Hello and greetings to you, wherever you may be on this wonderful planet Earth, third rock from the sun on this wintry day, which looks as if it's clearing up a little bit, but it's still a bit chilly. My name is Anthony Altman, and this video is entitled How to Resolve Fear Number 2 in the Life Lessons videos series, which is my third video. And I have already done in video number 2 in the series about fear, but this is how to resolve fear number 2, because something happened to me today that inspired me to make this video. I feel that fear is a huge issue, even though for most people on this planet. Even though looking at the statistics on YouTube, not many people seem to be interested in watching it. They're interested in other videos of mine, but this one is a bit on the low side. And I feel that the problem was I just put a title, Fear. And I don't know if that really gets through to people. So I've changed the title to How to Resolve Fear, because it is my opinion, my observation, that most people on this planet live in fear. So to help describe and help people understand, because I think a lot of people don't believe they're in fear, because unfortunately, a lot of people, many people, live in a bubble, in an illusory world that they create for themselves, and they don't actually see the truth. They don't want to believe that they live in fear, so they hide from it. And most people wear masks that they show to the world, and how they feel about themselves is very much a private affair. And it's time now to change that. It's time to take the mask off if you can, and to make public your private affairs, which in effect is what I'm doing, actually. I'm actually bearing my soul to you and whoever wishes to watch these videos. I'm making myself public. I am telling people about my strengths and weaknesses. I don't have a problem with that. But I had to learn how to do that, because I also lived in fear for many, many years of my life. And I didn't want to accept or believe that I was. The ego would not accept that. So to all intents and purposes, I was a macho man, and nothing could be further from the truth. I was weak and I was fearful. Today, I'm a lot stronger and virtually no fear. So what happened to me today? I was watching a movie with my wife on TV, and the film is a timeless classic. Its title is The Magnificent Seven, with incredible actors. Unfortunately, many of them, if not all of them, are now dead. But it starred Yul Brynner, James Coburn, Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, Robert Vaughn, and the others I can't remember. Wonderful actors, wonderful story, but boy, does it bring home the point that I really would like to make. So you have a village in Mexico near the border with Texas, and they are poor people. They are lovely people. They are people of the earth. They are farmers. And Caldera, Eli Wallach, is the bandit with his group of people, and they just rob everybody. But they had no food. So they persecuted the farmers of this village, and they stole all their food. So eventually, the poor farmers decided to go into town. I suppose it was Laredo, possibly one of those border towns, to look for guns or to look for somebody to help them. And the Magnificent Seven was created, led by Yul Brynner, and they decided to go to this village and help them by dissuading Caldera to go and leave them alone. Now, the farmers were not brave people. They were in absolute fear. And that is why they caved in to the bandits every time and gave them all the food. And they and their wives and their children just starved because they lived in fear. Now, if you look at the body language of Yul Brynner, the way he walks, the way he talks, he demonstrates great strength and purpose, a self-assurance. And that's one of the reasons I like him as a person, because he was always like that. And yet his beginnings were far from that. He also had his problems. I think his father was Russian or his mother was Russian, and he had a really tough childhood. And he overcame that with an inner strength that he was able to develop, because that was his potential. And he developed it. And it overflowed in his acting. If you saw him in The King and I, it was incredible. But The Magnificent Seven, the way he walked and talked, he was a very confident man. And so was Steve McQueen, James Coburn also, and Charles Bronson. And there was Robert Vaughn was, I think, a gunslinger, as they say, and he was beset by nightmares and fear, and courage deserted him often. And that was probably the result of the lifestyle that he led. So the Magnificent Seven came into the village, and they were able to fight the bandits and help get rid of them. There was the big battle at the end, and Charles Bronson was killed, and James Coburn was killed, and Robert Vaughn decided to conquer his fear, and he freed the farming captive, the people who were held captive by three of the bandits in a room. He went in there, shot them, and the farmers were freed, and they went out to help the others fight with sticks and stones and whatever they could get. In other words, they found their courage. They lost their fear, because they knew that if they didn't, they were dead. And the reason why Caldera, the bandits, were persecuting them is because they didn't have any food and any money to buy food. And they knew that they would have to battle these people, these Magnificent Seven people, and the farmers, the village people, to get food, or they would die. And they might die in the battle, but they had no choice but to face whatever it is. Now, the Magnificent Seven didn't do this for the money. They became compassionate with the farmers, and they decided they were going to help these farmers. They had a detachment from life, most of them. And at the end, Caldera was killed, the bandits were defeated, 4 of the Magnificent Seven were killed. Robert Vaughn found his courage, but his courage caused him to be so much in relief that he stood there open, vulnerable to a bullet, and he got killed. He didn't pay attention. But maybe that's the way he wanted it to be. Charles Bronson was saving the children, and he put the children before him, and he became a bit careless, and he was killed. Now, what is the lesson here is, yes, help other people, but try and do it so that you don't get killed. Try and do it that you don't lose sight of the fact that you are to be saved also if you can. And maybe he didn't care. Maybe the children were more important to him. So he sacrificed himself, and that's fine. And then at the end, there were three. Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, and the other guy, I can't remember his name. He looked a bit Hispanic, a wonderful actor. And he decided that he was going to go back to the village because he found a girl there. And so that left Yul Brynner and Stephen McQueen looking at the scene. And he says, the farmers have really won. They've got a life. We never win. Well, that was a poignant remark, because he never won because he never chose that life. If he had stayed with the village, he would have been very, very welcome there, and he could have had a life. But he chose to go back to the old life. And these people who live without a purpose of a wholesome life, and they live a life of violence, ultimately it catches up with them. So the one young kid, he was, in my opinion, the most aware of them all. He found this girl and he chose to stay with her, and he had now purpose. Purpose of life. That's another video I want to do. This movie is something you should see, and look at the lessons from all the different scenes and the people. If you live in fear, Kadera, who represents the evil people, will dominate you, will persecute you. You will suffer. You will have nothing. You will die. As soon as you find the way to find your courage, the courage will always displace the fear. You don't lose fear. You just find your courage. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi once said to us, many times actually, if you're in a darkened room and there's obstacles in the room and you're walking around and falling over, most people take that analogy by being bogged down with the problem on the level of the problem. So you're trying to find out how to get rid of the darkness or how to navigate around the obstacles. The wise person just lights a match or a candle, and then you can see. And if we could use this philosophy with all our issues, with all problems that we may be presented with, don't stay on the level of the problem. Think out of the box. Bring in another element. In this case, it was light when there was darkness. Bring in another element, whatever that element may be. Think out of the box. By doing so, you will be able to see the issue, the problem that is challenging you from a different perspective. Summon your courage. The courage will help to displace the fear, and you will find your power. You will then be empowered, and life is going to change very dramatically for you, for me, for every one of us. It has for me already. I don't know, it's just incredible. This is why I'm making these wonderful videos, because I say they're wonderful because I sometimes listen to them to myself when I'm not feeling so good, and they inspire me. I mean, that's great. So it tells me that the information is coming from another source. Maybe I'm channeling all this, but I'm allowing it to happen. So develop your courage. put your attention on courage. If you have any difficulty in understanding this or in doing this, contact me, leave a message down below, or go on the internet, listen to many, many other people speaking about this. Thank you again for joining me on this road less traveled. This one, how to resolve fear, how to be courageous. Until next time, thank you very much.